Hello and welcome to Nikon Sessions. In this episode, we're going to be talking about music photography. I'm joined by a fantastic group of photographers. You all shoot music, obviously, but I'd love to know a little bit more about you and what you shoot and your style. So if we can start with some introductions and then we'll go from there.
My name's Scarlett Page. I've been a photographer since the mid-90s. I was an assistant to a heavy rock music photographer for about a year and a half, and then I've been doing it ever since.
My name's Conor McDonald. I am also a music photographer. I started photographing music when I was 16, so it's been about 15 years now, almost.
I'm Shalane Forrest, Manchester-based photographer. I've been photographing bands for about 26 years, amongst other wonderful delights.
And I'm Pep Bonnet. I'm a photojournalist and a filmmaker, and for the last 10 years I've been focusing on my passion and obsession and addiction, which is rock and roll.
So I think it's fair to say we've got quite a lot of experience, right? Yeah. So I think what we want to start off with is music photography in general and really finding out what is it that you're trying to take pictures of, because when people think of music, they either think of the artist, they think of these big arena setups, but then there's also these quite quiet, small setups where you might be shooting portraiture. There's a lot of stuff that you shoot that I've seen that could be classed as a portrait shot. So what I'd really like to ask you guys is, what is music photography for you guys? What is it? Do you think it's that big arena stuff that really makes your shots, or do you think it's those smaller personal moments that you try and capture of a particular artist?
I mean, speak personally, I've done my hard graph shooting Glastonbury in the rain, 4 days of traipsing around with long lenses and camera boxes and body aching and probably trench foot. And I do shoot gigs still, but for me, it's getting that intimate contact with an artist and delving beneath the mask and trying to capture the real who they are, as naturally and as organically as possible, and trying to get something that isn't just like a mask. That's how they want to present themselves. I want to go a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing, really. I feel like artists on stage are projecting who they want, like what they want people to see. So it's always like the intimate backstage moments, or on a tour bus, or just intimate moments in the studio. I'd like to capture them as well.
Yeah, it's about capturing the permanence of a fleeting moment as well. Like, the gig is such a crazy environment, and just to hone in on just a little moment and have that forever, either to display to fans or to going out to the public, is just, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. For me, for me, the most important is the before and the after. Before the gigs. The gigs necessarily are not very interesting for me. I did shoot many, but for me the most interesting is the moment of intimacy. The moment where you become the fly on the wall, and the moment where you're part of the family of the crew, that you can really be part of the scene without even being noticed. That for me is the magic of this music photography. Being part of it.
I think a really good point that we talked about there is that when you get to that kind of intimate stage, when you start to get that access. So I'd really like to talk about that process, because I'd imagine that, when you all started out as music photography, you all did those kind of big gig things. You didn't really instantly get that kind of private backstage access straight away. So I'd love to know a little bit more about the process and how you made that progress from point A to point B.
My journey started, so I was assisting, and it was at a time when in the music business there was a lot of money and people were flying you like every day, here, there and everywhere. And so I'd accrued a lot of air miles. So I used my air miles and went out to Lollapalooza Festival in America, which was a big deal. I'm quite a shy person, but I thought, I know the tour managers for the Beastie Boys and the Smashing Pumpkins, so I'm gonna get my access all area and shoot as much as I can. I took a picture of a band called The Verve while I was there, and I was just mucking about with a fisheye and cross-processing my film, and it was a happy accident whereby I got something that really captured a vibe, and that went in my portfolio, which then started the ball rolling. It's incredible when you ask and when you sort of put it out there what you can make happen. Yeah. So, you don't just wait for it to happen.
No.
I got into it. I have no prior knowledge of photography before I picked up a camera, and the way I got into it, I was 15 or 16. It was a concert I wanted to go to. It was completely sold out. I figured a way in would be by trying to get a press pass for it.
Get the best seat in the house.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly, yeah. And get in for free. And I didn't have a job at the time. I was, teenager, no money. And it was an English rock band called The Subways. It was a gig in Manchester. And I managed to find the band members' actual MySpace pages, message them. I was like, is there any chance I could get a press pass? It'll help with my art GCSE in school, which it wouldn't, because I didn't do photography. And amazingly, the bassist responded and she was like, yeah, here's my manager's email. You can be down for a press pass, first 3 songs in the pit, no flash. Turned up at the gig, and funny enough, the first person I saw at the gig. Yeah. So I recognise Charlene because on MySpace she had quite a big following. And I did the old classic, this is how little I knew about cameras. I'm pretty sure the first question I asked was like, I've not done this before, what settings should I use? And that sort of began my whole obsession with music photography. And then after that, I sort of emailed everyone and anyone who was playing in Liverpool or Manchester trying to get passes. And it kind of just spiraled from there.
I started just going to gigs with a camera, so paid ticket, and then at the end of the show I'd go, I'm just a student, can I come backstage and take a few more pictures? And the bands that go, yeah, as long as we can have a copy.
Yeah.
Then yeah, and then I got a job on Paint It Red magazine, which is a tiny little Newcastle magazine, and they'd gone, oh, you're already getting backstage access, you obviously know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah. And it kind of grew from there.
Yeah, for me it was different. I was collaborating with Rolling Stone magazine. So one day I told them, why don't you send me to photograph a rock band? And they said, what band you want? I said, I want Motorhead. And that was my beginning of the career. They were not interested in the band, but they bridged me in. And after a couple of weeks following the band with a rental car, it was the UK tour in England, driving on the left side. That was crazy, you know. And after 10 days, they might have seen my tired face. And they say, you know, drop your car in the rental and you're going to come with us with the bus. And I thought they were going to put me with the crew bus. And no, they put me with the band bus.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, for the first 2 days, I didn't shoot a picture. I said, I really don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
And since that day, I spent 2-3 weeks with the band. I made a very good relationship. I sent the portfolio back to Rolling Stone magazine and they said, these are amazing. They sent their best writer to interview Lemmy. They made a feature called The Vampire of Sunset Strip. And for the first time in history, Motorhead had 8 pages in Rolling Stone magazine all around the world. So all of a sudden, I was really part of the crew. So that's how I started photographing in the music industry until Lemmy died.
Amazing. I think one of the things that we've all mentioned there is that there's a period where you're a little bit unsure, you're a little bit nervous. So what would be that kind of advice that you would give if there was someone that was, you know, wanting to start out in music photography, but they were nervous about either interacting with an artist or nervous about making that first step?
Fake it till you make it. Honestly, like still think I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's my job. So yeah.
I think it's important to read also artists, how do they feel, you know, because in 5 minutes they can change their mind, you know. Some people go nuts all of a sudden and you have to be able to read, is this the right moment? Is this the moment to really step back a little bit, you know? So I think you have to be a bit of a psychologist, you know.
And have you ever had those sort of nerves as well? Like,
of course. First time I met Lemmy from Motorhead, I was shaking, you know. I was like, okay, this is my hero. I still have his poster on my bedroom. My wife said, you know, you look like a little kid with a poster of this guy on your room. And yeah, but you know, he was such a gentleman and he opened the doors and I made it and I photographed him until he died. Once you start getting the relationship with the people is what matters, you know. You can, you know, the more backstage you go, you know, the more closer you get to the real band. Because for me, the band is never a few times it's a band, you know. There is a drummer, a guitar player, a singer, and a bass player, and they all have many times different lives, different hobbies, and different dressing rooms.
And there's bands and there's bands, aren't there? There are bands that are a unit, and then there are bands that are the front person and the other players. And you just have to figure that out, whose ego you have to stroke, who you have to keep happy. And
but like the way you started off, where you'd shoot a gig and then speak to the band or try and get in a way where you could go and take those other shots that were like your shots.
Do you think there's, and this is probably a question for all of you really, do you think there's a situation where you can tell that you're going to get a good shot because you can just feel that, you know, you're on the right wavelength with the artist, or you can tell that the atmosphere in the location that you're in is just fantastic, and you're just thinking, you know what, I'm going to get some really cool stuff here?
Definitely. I mean, experience I had 2 weeks ago, I was on a video shoot in Miami. Flight was delayed, got there quite late, but it was a stressful morning. Walk into the studio and everyone was just buzzing because it was going really well. And immediately I was like, I feel like I'm going to get some good stuff here today. And I got some really nice shots, which I'm really happy with. So you can definitely feel it. And also it's the same, even with concerts as well. The vibe of the crowd completely changed the whole dynamic of the band on stage. You know, if it's a rubbish crowd, then sometimes they don't give it their all.
They're
but if
going
it's-
through the motions,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. So yeah, definitely the energy you feel can completely change the way like you shoot as well.
It's also interesting how one image can sort of strike the audience. So, you know, for example, this picture of Amy Winehouse, which was exactly that, sort of fly on the wall during an interview. It's something that I only printed recently, and the response has been incredible. And just where she's at before she released Back in Black, she's in a really good place, and that's how people want to remember her. And I'm like, it's not even such a great shot, but it's capturing that special, you know, that moment where she's just radiating. It just takes on a life of its own.
It's
yeah.
true, yeah. And then other shots that I've taken, I've gone, oh, I finally got one right, thank God. And you show it to people and they're like, eh. Yeah, other shots that you're like, nah. They're like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever seen. And you're like, are we looking at the same?
Well, because you're looking at other things like the lighting and the way that was happening, and you're like,
Why
wow.
is it photoshopped out there? Like,
Yeah,
can you not see that?
I think also what makes a big difference is when you have a big star in front of you, well, you have a lot of respect, and you're like, you know, you want to make sure you go, you know, slowly, you know, that you don't get kicked out of that dressing room. Or if you are in a band that you know that they love you because you are who you are, and they give you access, you know, I think that's also a bit tricky. I love this picture actually. I was always trying to follow Lemmy from the dressing room to the stage. You know, I managed to get a couple of great shots, but this is the picture that is closing the video clip from Heroes. When Lemmy died, the record label called me and asked me to direct their most ever seen video clip, about 55 million views already in a couple of years. So I had to shoot a video clip of David Bowie's song Heroes, but performed by Lemmy, so by Motorhead. So they had recorded the song, and they never played that song live ever together. So out of all my archive and all the footage, I managed to put a video clip together where it looks like they're performing the song live. And that is the picture that is closing that video clip.
You guys have been shooting music for an incredible number of years collectively, and the world's changed a lot over those past years. We now have the rise of social media, the fact that everyone has access to cameras that they never had access to before. So I suppose over those years, how has shooting music changed with the development of photography and the development of social media? Do you find that it's more difficult to get a shot now because there's so many photos out there, and it's different, it's hard to make your shot look different, or is it easier than ever? I'm not sure.
Of course, there are a lot of young photographers. There are more photographers than ever, and they are excited and motivated. But I think experience and quality work will always win. You know, so you know if you're dedicated and you have access, it's difficult that you will be losing this work.
I mean, you have to, as the years go on, you have to keep changing and evolving, you know, so, and that's something that I'm very aware of. It's just keeping true to what you love doing, but also making sure you're not rigid and you just sort of move with and keep up with whatever else is going on. The fashion at the moment is for quite badly lit photos. And, you know, that is the trend. I mean, I've been through the cross-processing and the ring flash trends and all the way through, but now it's like, do you want me to take a shot like how I do it, or do you want me to make it look like that?
Problem these days as well, I think, is just the speed. People want things as well, especially with social media. It's like, can we have this like now? And it's like, you're just about to go on stage. Like, can I do it, send it after the show? Like, give me time to, you know, process it and do everything. But
it's not the best image that's out there. It's whoever can deliver it and get it to the papers as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So they had a Dua Lipa shoot, an exclusive, a couple of weeks ago. And as soon as I got off stage, I went, right, the Sun's holding the front page. We need them in 8 minutes. And you just think, I've got 600 photos and you want me to get them out to you, like the best one that shows her in the best light.
So what is it that does make those pictures that you really like? Is it because it's the artist that's in them, or is it that some shots just have great atmosphere? Is it that some shots just capture a moment? What is it for you guys that kind of makes a shot that you really like? If you see it straight away, you're like, yeah, I'm really happy with that shot.
the way I try and shoot concert photography is like, I want to make people come to this concert. I'm working for this artist. I've got to make this look like the best party on the planet, and people want to buy tickets to come. So if I'm looking through my images and like, that looks like a fun time, that's generally the photo I'd pick.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, concert sales would go down if we actually showed gigs how they actually are instead of the polished version. Apart from composition and lighting and all that stuff, I want to see a bit of personality. Like, bands are only interested if they're giving it full welly on stage. If they're engaged, then I can be engaged and I can pass that engagement on to the audience. We're just a conduit between the band and the fans, if that makes sense. So if I express them in their best possible way, hopefully the fans will pick up and sales will increase and we can keep doing our jobs.
I like that too, but I love it when there are problems or issues. You know? Then, you know, if you have access backstage, you know, you start seeing people flying and, you know,
Yes,
going
go
nuts. And, you know, so when I'm in a concert and I see something's wrong, you know, I get excited also. Something's going to happen, you know. It happened many times also, you know, this kind of thing. So
Always when you're there.
always.
There's a correlation.
The link, yeah. Maybe Sharon.
Sometimes something magical happens in the process where I go, oh my God, how did that just like happen? And this is more like with setup images, like portraits and stuff, more than live. So the picture of Paul McCartney there, that was part of my project that I was doing. And I went to America on the premise that I might get to shoot him. But literally, I just arrived, been to the camera shop, picked up some stuff, and I got a phone call saying, can you come to the Jimmy Kimmel show? You can get your snap. And I was like, snap? Right? Like, I'm bringing my lights. And literally, I took that picture within 7 frames.
Wow.
And pulled the curtain in the green room and went, you know, has he got a guitar? You know, he came in whistling and singing, and he went, you've come all the way from London? I was like, yes, completely jet lagged, and got the shot, and I was like, thank the Lord. There was, you know, because I had to do it so quickly to get my snap, my portrait, but it worked out.
But for concerts also, I think some of the bands have a show and they're doing the same thing all over again, you know. So once you have witnessed a show and you go the next day and you know after this song he's going to
gonna
throw
do the
that
star
guitar
jump.
up in the air. And the first day I was missing that guitar on the air, it was blurry. So third day I'm waiting for that guitar to fly, you know, and I know, I grab it, bam. You go to that live concert for once, you will never be able to capture this unless you're very lucky. But if you follow a band and you follow the live concert every night,
You kind of gauge when things are
exactly. Then you have your list. Okay, after this song, and they're gonna do this and that.
You can hear it coming. You
Yes.
know, in the song.
Yes. And then you grab your position, and then it's like real photojournalism. You know, it's a show. Everything is lit up. Everything is set up, but you have to find the right place and the right position and be able to capture that moment. You know, it's also run and gun.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I also wanted to ask about is working in the music industry. Is it a kind of a lone wolf thing? Are you on your own, or is it that, you know, other photographers in the music industry are really helpful? As we know, we know that you guys work together as well. What's your experience been with that? And then kind of the second half of that, for you guys specifically, what's that been like as a female photographer in the music industry as well?
So most of the assignments that I've been sent on would only be with a journalist and maybe a press officer. So for the longest time, I didn't really know that many other photographers. And it's probably only in the last few years that I've got to not only connect with other photographers, not necessarily just in the music business, but and also other female photographers. And it's interesting how when I started, I didn't sort of think too much about me being a young girl in the business, but the amount of times I get asked now, God, what was it like? You know, it's almost like it was a little bit groundbreaking. A lot of the people that I've shot were just all men, and those were the assignments I was sent on. There wasn't really that many female bands, you know, certainly not to match the presence of how many male bands there were and musicians, and then similarly with photographers.
Most of the people that you work with are men.
Right.
Yeah, you need to put your big girl pants on and grit your teeth and go, no, this is the profession I want to do. I will not let X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And either their attitudes or their physicality encroach on what I want to do. And that it can be hard sometimes to do that, but I think you just need to crack on. Don't let the bastards grind you down, basically.
One of the things that I've always wanted to ask is that, you know, when you're shooting big concerts, everything is produced by the content, like lighting, stage, all that type of stuff. Where the artist is going to be, you're not really in control of that. So is it that you're in a situation where you think, right, let's go and find where I can position myself, where I think I might get a shot? So are you thinking about those shots ahead of time, or are you maybe thinking about them on the spot? Like you have to work out that there might be a picture that's going to happen in 10 seconds.
Sometimes when you're working with the band, you might say, right, at the end, do a shot where I'm at the back of the stage, get the house lights on. So I'll speak to the lighting guy
Right, okay.
and say, you all turn around to me and I'll get that shot where you can see all the crowd and the band are looking like, yay. So, you know, you can sometimes make
Right.
things happen, but sometimes it's luck being in the right part of the pit when something spontaneous happens. You're like, like if you're the other side, you're like, no.
On tour as well, there's definitely an aspect of planning. Like I do a lot of work with Calvin Harris, so there's lots of pyro, lots of fireworks. So I know when there's going to be pyro. It's normally on like his own songs. So I'll speak to our pyro guy, and then I'll figure out where I want to be for that. If it's a festival, a lot of the time I'll either want to be in the booth behind him, so I'll get that nice shot of him, arms out, pyro going off in front of him and the whole crowd, or I want to be in like the front of House Tower, so you get a nice big crowd shot, you see the whole production on stage and these massive fireworks behind. So I do plan a little bit.
I'd imagine, like you said, you could be in one situation where the lights are down low, it's dark.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden you're in a situation where all the lights come back on, there's lasers everywhere, like it's almost a completely different situation.
Yeah.
So is there like something that you can, the advice you give to help you with people with that, or is it something you've just learned through experience?
You just learn through
Yeah.
experience and just be constantly ready on your controls, because obviously you're going to shoot in manual, because
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, you want it to be your fault and you want to know how to fix it.
Yeah, sometimes I do shoot if there is a lot of light changes with aperture priority,
Yeah.
and that also works very well.
It's interesting how everyone, like you can send 5 photographers in to do, 4 photographers in to shoot the same gig, and we'll all be doing it differently. I'm always shutter
Yeah.
priority because I'm worried about shake, like I always have the shaky, so I have to make sure that I've got it on, you know, for a long lens 250th.
If you get the shot, you get the shot.
I suppose that's all that matters, right? It's the final product. So if you've got that final shot, no matter how you got there, as long as
Yeah.
you're happy with it. So leading on to that, I think an interesting question then would be, do we all have a different focal length or a different lens? Because for music photography, you're either, it's like we've been talking about, sometimes you're longer focal length, sometimes you're in a pit, sometimes you're on a stage. Is there like a favorite that you go to, or is it just everything?
Well, for portraits particularly, it's an 85mm 1.8. That's what I use all the time. But for live, it would be a wide angle zoom and a 80-200.
24, 70, 7200,
Yeah.
and 14 to 24 for like the wide angle.
Everything covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same again, but with a fisheye and a bit of a kaleidoscope filter thrown in, just for when I'm bored.
Yeah, same for me, but I hate zoom. So normally I try to, have a 70 to 200 zoom and then shoot on the primes.
Yeah.
Have a couple of pockets and
Yeah, yeah.
change primes.
So I can imagine that you have some incredible stories and some incredible experiences throughout your career. So is there one point in your career where you've thought either you've taken a step back and you've gone, you know what, this is actually almost a dream come true, or is there a moment in your career that kind of really stays with you and you think, I really got a really great shot from that, or just a really great experience from that?
I just feel really lucky that I've been able to do something that's really fun and varied, and make a living out of it. There really is something to be said about the power of positive thought and sort of channeling your energy into something you really want to do. But I just feel really grateful that I can still do it,
Same really, like I've turned a hobby into a job somehow. I have no idea how that's happened, but
Yeah.
if it ended tomorrow, then great, if I had fun. But yeah, there's definitely moments like, standing on stage with an artist, at like a headline slot at like Coachella or something, getting to experience that moment with them. No one else, it's such a surreal experience, stand on stage in front of that many people. At whatever festival, whatever show it is, it's not many people can say they've done that. So to be able to do that is quite special.
And just in your career in general, sometimes all the shenanigans can just really get you down and you stop and you think, hang on, teenage me would love current me. Like, just open your eyes and just appreciate what's going on.
Yeah, for me, the best moments, I can talk about it. I cannot, definitely. The best stories are forbidden.
So I think one of the questions I'd really like to ask you is, if there was somebody that already has a passion in music and already has a passion in photography, and they think, you know what, yeah, I can go and do that. What would be that one piece of advice that was somebody that's really starting out, and if they want to get to where you've got to, what would you say to them?
I'd say contact magazines, small magazines, large ones, press officers, management. You've got the internet now at your disposal. You can find out who looks after who. and try and make other things happen and just show other people your passion.
I think the best thing someone told me when I first started out was like, don't go shooting the big arena shows, shoot the dark, dingy clubs, because you'll learn the camera better than anything. Any Joe Blob can shoot like a big arena show. I know it looks glitzy glamour, it's bigger artists and whatnot, but you'll get to that at some point. If you want to learn how to shoot music, shoot it in the small, dingy clubs.
I was just going to say the same thing. Find your small local venues, if they're still going, God bless them, and learn your craft. If you can deal with horrible lighting in a dingy club, when you get to the arena, it's just going to be mega easy. And my top tip is always carry sweets for security.
Yeah, I totally agree with all you say. I think learn good your profession, know your gear, know your cameras. Don't try to start big, maybe start small. It's more fun, it's more access. And then also get inspired by other photographers. Don't try to copy what others have done. Try to be unique in your own way. Try to bring different aesthetics into the field. Have no fear and follow your instinct. And if you really want to do it, you will do it.
I think the whole consensus is that in the music industry, some things are planned and some things aren't.
Absolutely.
And the message I've got from you guys is that you plan your shots, and some things you just get some really great shots. So thank you so much. I think we've had some great discussions. We've talked about some really cool stuff there. It's been a pleasure speaking to you guys, and I'm sure there's some really exciting other stories that you've got that you can tell me another time as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We will see you for the next Nikon session.